Hey guys, so what we'll be building today is a small React application which will be a small timer application in React, and this will give me the latest time on the system. So the tools and technologies we'll be using is of course NodeJS. We'll be writing the code in VS Code, which is the editor of my choice. For a platform, I'll be using Ubuntu Linux here, but of course you're free to use any operating system you want. You can use Windows or Mac, and the steps are going to be exactly same because React is a web-based framework and it works across all the operating systems without any differences. So of course the look and feel might be a little different, your terminal might be a little different, but the steps will be exactly same. So let's get started. So before getting started, we'll check whether we have Node.js installed and everything in our system. So we'll just check the Git version, though we are not going to commit this code in Git, so this is completely optional, but we'll of course check the Node version, whether we have the latest version of Node and the npm version. Once we make sure these three are there, if not, again you can watch my first video where I've explained how to install Git, Node and npm in your Ubuntu environment. Do that and then come back to the step. So once we're done, now we'll create our first bootstrap React application, which will be used, and we'll be changing that bootstrap application to make it work as a timer application. So what we'll do is open the terminal. You can choose a folder of your choice inside the system. Here I have inside my home folder, I've created something called as workspace, so you can put wherever this code, wherever in your system, if you want, you can put this code. Once you go to the workspace folder or any folder if you chosen, simply type npx create react app and then provide a name for the project. Now this is a simple timer application with React, so we'll type something as React timer. So we'll provide with the template as Typescript. So we'll create a simple React application, a boilerplate application in Typescript. So once we put this command, this will create the folder for you. It will install the necessary dependencies, create the node modules folder, and this should be enough to get us started with the project. So we'll give it a couple of seconds, and I will fast forward the video till the point it is done. So we're done now. Let's open up a VS Code. So we'll go to VS Code and open up this particular project. So we'll go to the folder location, home, workspace, and then of course I will open this project. So before starting the application, I will show what is the basic structure of a boilerplate React application. So this is the package.json where we have the list of dependencies, and in the source we have the app.tsx and the index.tsx. So index.tsx is the starting point of the application, and here you can see the React DOM.render has been done, and you're calling a separate class called app, which is actually this app.tsx. And you're rendering this entire application in a div whose ID is root. So if you go to the index.html, you can see you will have a div whose ID has been set as root. So this is where the entire React application will get rendered. So we don't need to change this one. This can remain as is. We will just go to the app.tsx, and there are a bunch of things. So if I start this application now, if I do an npm start, sorry, I need to go to the project path. So if I go to React timer and then do an npm start, this will open up the application in port 3000, and you will see what is mentioned here. So there is a logo here, and there are a couple of text here. So there is a logo as you see, and then these text. So we'll remove this entire thing here, and we'll just put say hi here. And if you see, the application has been updated. Now in the index.tsx we have a CSS file as well, which is some basic for the body and the code. What we can do is, I just want to make it a black background, so I will just put the body color as black. And if I go to app.tsx, I have again a CSS file. So I've removed most of the classes here, most of the components here inside app. So inside app.tsx, I've removed most of the stuffs here. So instead of having all the CSS, we can just remove all this. I'll just keep app, and here instead of writing a normal function like this, what I will convert this into a functional component, like I'll convert this into a ES6 based function component. So instead of writing a function, we will just return this guy. So here I will return this, and delete this. So now I've just converted this into a simple ES6 based function. So the output is same, but you can't see any high, though it's here you can see, because the background is black and the text is black. So what we will do is, in this app CSS, we will just choose the color as maybe something like this, so it will look a bit nicer. So yeah, so it looks nice. Now let's go back to the code. Now here, instead of displaying high, what I want is to display my current time. So for time, there are multiple ways we can do it. We can use the normal date function built in JavaScript. So if you just do a new date, this will provide with the date function. So let's try that first. So if I can do a const d is equal to new date, this will provide you a reference to the local date function or local date object, and then I can, instead of displaying anything here, I can do a d dot say get hours. So this will display the latest hours in the system. So as you can see, my local timestamp is 2:46, so I'll just display 14 here. So we can get minutes and get seconds and conquer that. But instead of doing that, what we will do is use Moment.js. Now Moment is a third-party library, but there are a lot of date calculations and formats possible with Moment. So it provides a lot of inbuilt methods and functions to do different kind of date calculations. So what we'll do is learn how to integrate a third-party library called Moment. So before we do that, we have to go to package.json, and this is where we see all the libraries currently being used by this boilerplate application. So what we need to do is add Moment as a dependency. Now instead of adding it here and finding the version, there is a simple way of doing it. We go and stop the running application first, and then what we do is npm install and do a -- save Moment. So what this does is it will install the latest version of Moment here, and -- save means it will add a reference to my package.json. So once this one is executed, it will install my Moment library and add a reference to my package.json. So once it's done, you can see now a Moment has been added here, a Moment library has been added here, and it has been already installed in my node modules folder. So now I can go and use it. So I will simply do a import Moment from Moment. So now I can simply use this. The Moment has a function called as format. So by default, Moment gives you the current date, just like new date, and then there is a function called format. So if you call that function, you can actually get the current date in different formats as per your wants. So here, instead of doing a new date, what we'll do is moment.format, and then we can provide the format. Say I can do an HHMMSS. So this will give me the hours, minutes, and seconds, and I will just display D here, or I can just change this name to my time, and that's it. So now if I go back to my UI, you can see and refresh it. Sorry, I have to start this first. So if I do an npm start, you can see once it started, you can see my latest time here. So you have 0 to 48 and 38 seconds. Now what we want to do is make it dynamic. So basically I can see my current time, but it's not moving because my seconds is ideally supposed to move from 30, 39, and 40. So what we want to do is now move it so that every second my React component refreshes and gives me back the latest time in the system. So for that, what we need is something like an use effect. So what is a use effect? Use effect is a hook in React by which I can run a block of code or a piece of code when the component is rendering, or every time the component receives a change in the props. So this is a normal inbuilt hook in React, and if I don't provide any dependency here, like the dependency is empty, this will be called only when the component is rendering for the first time, or the component is I would say loading for the first time or mounting for the first time. But on subsequent renders, this will not be called. So if I call something here, say I put an alert here and refresh this component, you can see that one has been triggered, but it only happened once, but I need to call it continuously every second. So instead of doing that, I will do a set timeout. So I will do a set interval, sorry. And what the set interval does is based on whatever the interval I provide, this piece of code inside set interval will keep on triggering. So I'll put 1000 millisecond as my set interval. This is in milliseconds. 1000 milliseconds means 1 second. So every second the code which I'm going to write inside set interval will get triggered. So here I will do this exact method. So I will call this exact method. So I can get time is equal to this one. Now the problem is this time and this time is different. So my render function does not know about this particular time because this is within the use effect. So what we need to do is use something as a state in React. So state is, think of state like a local variable in React, but every time I go and change it, this will go and reflect my React, this will go and update my React DOM, and you will see the latest values when the application is running. So state can actually be used from within use effect or any hooks within React. At the same time, it is available for the render method to operate on. So for creating a state, I will need to create a setter getter. So first is the variable. So this is the state variable, or this is the particular state, and then I need a getter by which we set the state. So I can put something as set time. Now this name can be anything, but for convenience purposes, we just put a set in front. So time and set time, and then I can put a use state, and I can define an initial value. So I can define any particular initial value at the start, after which it can go and update itself. So I will just put it as empty because I'm going to anyways refresh this every second. So here I can do a set time. Now instead of putting it in a local variable, what I can do is call this set time method and pass the moment value here. So what this will do is get the moment value, format it back into this particular format, and then you call this method set time. What internally this will do is set this particular method, set this particular variable. Once this variable has been set, our React component will automatically refresh to update it. So now I'm done with the changes. If I go and refresh my page, you will see now my seconds are moving. So I have the latest hours, minutes, and seconds running here. So now that looks nice, but I want to make some changes in the CSS so it looks a bit more crisper. Now what we can do is go to Google Fonts. So you can go to Google Fonts, like fonts.google.com, and I have searched a font called Press Start 2P. So what this font does, it looks like this. So it looks like a clock or something like a ticker. So this font kind of looks more closer to how a clock actually shows it, like a digital clock. So we'll be using this font. Now how do I do that? What you can do is any Google font or any fonts, not just Google font, you can simply go and download the font here, and this will download the package for you. Now if I go to the downloads, you can see this folder is here. Let me go and extract this. Once I extract, you will find a small TTF file here. So what we need to do is use this TTF file to create a font face, and we'll be using that font inside our CSS. So how do I do that? So go here, and in my source, let me create a folder called as styles. So here I can put any styles or any kind of custom stuffs I'm doing, or any kind of images. So here inside the styles, I will go and paste this TTF file. So I've already, let me go and copy this and paste it. Go ahead and drag drop here. Yeah. So once that's done, now inside my styles folder of this one. So what we need to do is now go to our index on app.css. I will probably do it in the index because this is like creating a new font. What I will do is do something like font face. I have to put @ first and do something as font face. So this means I'm importing a new font or new font type and creating a custom font face, right? So in the font family, I can provide any name I want, but what I will prefer is put this kind of name so I know what I'm using. So I can do something as 2p, press start 2p, and then in the URL I have to map the path to this particular file. So what I will do is /styles and then this one. So now it's done. So I have the source to point to this TTF file, and I have a custom font family name. Now this name can be anything, but prefer to use something closer to the TTF file. So once I have done, I can now use this name anywhere. So let me go to my app.tsx or app.css, and here let me add another div. I want to now I want to have this only for this timer and nothing else in the application, so I can put a timer class maybe, and then put this here. So now I have a time class, and I will add this class in my app.csx, and here I can use this font. So I will put font family, and whatever I have name given here, I can copy this name here. So once that's done, this piece of CSS will start applying this font family. Now if I go back to my UI, you can see my font has already changed now. I can now just provide a size maybe. I can put a font size of say 40 pixels, and now it should be like this. So now I've added a custom font face, some styling to it, some background to it, some custom font face. So now I've done with some custom font face and added the font size to be 40 pixels, and it looks now pretty nice. So you have a small React application running which gets you the latest time on the system, runs it, and we have also learned how to use a normal custom Google font face. So that's all I had for today. Thanks for watching my videos. Signing off, this is Arindam from your Tech Inception.